This is a 3-minute version of a story that we told. You can find it on the YouTube as well. PSAT. I had a PSAT score of 550 on math and 570 on verbal. Maybe it was, 570 math, 550 verbal. In the PSAT, they'd call it a 557, so you predict that I would be getting a 570, 550. I ended up with a 1520. So, yeah, that's a perfect score. MIT wrote to me and said, "You have a place in our class." That's how they used to handle it. They used to think that the SAT was so important that they would recruit people who hadn't even thought of going to MIT. They just wrote to you and said, "We want you at our school." Fortunately, they don't do that anymore because they found out that the SAT really does not predict success. However, there are some schools that think that the SAT is a great thing. So that's why you're here. Let's get you a high score. The way I moved from a 570 to the 800, which is sort of like going from here all the way out to here on the bell curve. I was stuck for 3 weeks on a lake with my grandfather in 1975. That's 4, yeah, that's right. And what happened basically was the only thing on TV was Watergate. The only thing that you could hear about was some guy named Sam Ervin who was telling you what the president shouldn't have done. So there was nothing to do at nighttime but to read. During the daytime, I was on a boat. And I had one of those fat books, just the way you do. I just did every math problem. I did every math problem. I looked at word lists, and if I could look at a word covering up the definition, I could cross out that word if I could give a synonym. That's what I told myself. And so I went through that list. It took 3 weeks. And there was no internet, there was no Facebook, it was easy on me. But that's how I moved that number. And so my story of the lake is, you have the potential of doing the same thing. You can move your number if you isolate yourself to do that. It's also not necessarily a sign of success. I went through 1 year at Princeton and then decided, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to waste my parents' money anymore. And so I went out and I worked for 3 years before I decided, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I came back here to Florida. The point is that you can do well on the SAT, and it is not a predictor for success in college. The SAT is a short-term test giving lots of little fragments of information, and they're asking you to handle these items in random order. Generally, it may be graded from easy to hard in the math section, but when they're going to throw a reading passage at you, you don't know what's coming. So the best preparation I can recommend, and the reason why you guys are here, is to think about creating what worked on the lake. Find a spot where you don't have anything else going on, and it will be more effective. I talked with my grandfather, who's a university professor, and he would just ask me, so, what word is confusing you? And I'd say, how do you remember this thing about the vicarious? He says, well, a vicar is like a bishop. Right? So that's where I got that story. And it sticks with you. Thank you for listening.